Look, y'all. So listen, there's a few things. It's actually about 3 things I want to talk to y'all about before we start. First thing, take your cameras out. Ladies, you ready? Brothers, y'all ready? Yeah. Man! All right. Ready? Right here. That's it. Brothers, ready? I'm mad again. Ready? Get in the middle. Hold on, get in the middle. Ready? Ready? Take it. Yeah. People in the back, get a little closer to you. George Jefferson, come on. All right, hold on. Come over here. She for real. Come on, baby. I'm gonna come over here to you. Give me this. Let me do this, woman. Don't get me beat up now. Y'all ready? Let me tell you why. Now I need you to put your damn phones up. Listen to me. Listen to me. I want to tell you why. And I'm very serious.
This is Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, with another GMOGMedia. Actually, this is a review. It's not another, but this is a review, family. It's pretty late night. This is too late for me. It's almost 1 o'clock at night. I just got back from the David Banner lecture. Miami Gardens, Betty T. Ferguson. And I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion about the lecture. Before I start, family, if you're new, please subscribe. Once again, I am Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media. I talk about issues that affect Black people collectively as a group. And I also talk about issues pertaining to racism, which is white supremacy, and I offer my suggestions on how to replace this system of racism, white supremacy, with the system of justice. So if you're new, please subscribe. All right, family. Yeah, so I'm on a new camera, actually. It's my wife's camera, but it's a dope camera. So I'm just trying to work out the kinks with it and play around with the settings. But anyway, family, David Banner, the lecture, the God Box lecture, just came back from it. I couldn't get. Well, first of all, he doesn't want anybody to record, which is highly respectable. Doesn't want anybody to record his lecture. Okay, now let me just give you guys my honest opinion about the lecture, okay, and about the whole event. First of all, shout out to Brother Carl, the promoter of the event. He put on another great event overall. Professional, just overall a great event, and you know, it's good to have so-called conscious people, and I don't like to use that term conscious either, conscious community. I like to call people who know things enlightened, because breathing people, if you're breathing, you're already conscious anyway, so it's kind of like an oxymoron. But anyway, the enlightened people at the event, great atmosphere. Brother Carl did his thing again, putting on a nice event, and it was great to be around like-minded Black melanated people. You know, it was great to be around that kind of setting, so I really commend him for doing that. Also, shout out to Brother Gary. Gary, you know, he's a great guy, man. Very passionate about, you know, trying to change, wake up our people. He's new into this information, and he came to my Hidden Colors 4 lecture and just been a big supporter of myself, which I definitely just want to thank him for being such a great supporter of what I'm trying to do. But shout out to Gary as well. But the David Banner lecture, you know, my opinion about that is I'd say it was cool. It was cool. Okay. Now, I've been into information, you know, and I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all. I'm not a know-it-all at all. I'm always learning something new. As our brother Neely Fuller says, I'm still learning. So I'm always learning, right? But I've been studying information and just trying to, you know, obtain knowledge of self for the past 3-4 years. So, you know, I would say the amount of information that I know now, and not to brag or anything like that, you know, you guys, if you guys follow me, and especially on my channel, GMOGMediaTV, you know I put out constant information, right? And that information that I talk about, I have it backed up, right, with empirical data. Okay, so I don't just talk about things, I prove it with empirical data. And I basically say, hey, this is why this is happening, and here you go, here's the evidence, X, Y, Z. But his lecture, David Banner's lecture, it was cool, okay? For people who are just becoming new into information, new into, you know, knowledge of self, a lot of the stuff that he said to you, you're going to be like, wow, this is groundbreaking, you know? Someone like me who has been studying for a long time, you know, 3-4 years, that's a lot of information, you know? So basically, all the information that he was saying in the lecture, I'd say about a good 95% of the information that he said I knew already. And like I said, it's not to brag or to boast. It's just I've been in this information for 3 to 4 years, so I've been studying, you know. But the thing that I like to do, again, I like to back up what I say with empirical data. He did not do that in his lecture, and because that's his style, you know, and he has an MC background, you know, he's a rapper, so his showmanship as an MC, because when he lectures, he walks around, he gets really personal with the audience, he interacts with the audience, which is, I love that, that's great, you know. But the things that he talks about in his lecture, and I'm not going to spoil what he talked about in this lecture. If you went to his lecture or you're familiar with what he talks about, then you know what he's saying in his lecture. But a lot of the, you know, the things that he's talking about, it's not being backed up with empirical data. You know, it's not being verified with stats, with quotes, etc., etc. It's just you talking. And he had, you know, at the end of his lecture, he had solutions also, which was cool. But it was like a general type of solution, right? You need to go, you know, I'm not going to give away, like I said, I'm not going to give away his lecture. But at the end, he had a Q&A, and the audience members wanted to ask him questions. I had no questions to ask, because, again, like I said, you know, most of the information that he talked about I already knew. But I did want to give a statement, but I felt like if I give that statement, I would take up too much time, and I don't want to grandstand the microphone. You know what I'm saying? So, because when I get up, I will definitely be talking. But one of the things in terms of what black people need to do, right, as far as solutions, and if you're lecturing around different cities and stuff like that, I would say this, and this is just my critique. If you're going to lecture around different cities, make the lecture custom made for that city, right? So if you go on YouTube, and you can see bits and pieces of his lecture, right? And the things that he talks about on YouTube, he says the same exact thing in other cities, right? So some parts of his lecture, you can, it's understandable that you're going to repeat yourself in different cities, right? But there's got to be certain parts of your lecture that is custom made for the city that you're in. You know, that's just my critique about the lecture. I'd say custom made what you're talking about to the city that you're in, right? So that people can get a better understanding of what to do, because there are a lot of people, again, that are just not as well studied as someone like me. You know, they're just not, but they're just looking for answers. They're looking for a pathway. So that's what I would suggest with Brother David Banner, is to do that. There was a question by one of the audience members about, he had a lecture in DC.
Because when these white folks are killing you, they don't give a shit if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're straight, if whatever you are, you black, and your ass is gonna die.
And the lady was referring to the lecture he had with Irritated Genie, the straight black pride movement, and how David Banner was talking about things that had nothing to do with the straight black pride movement. You know, the straight black pride movement is definitely, it's about black pride. It's about straight black pride. And so Brother Irritated Genie does not want to hear about you siding with homosexuality, the homosexuality agenda, things of that nature. And so one of the audience members asked him the question about that. He didn't really answer that question directly. It was more like a filibuster, in my opinion. So he didn't really directly answer that question. But again, I'm not knocking him for that. That's just the way he wants to do things in terms of that. But overall, you know, like I said, the lecture was cool. The vibe was great as far as being around like-minded people. There are some people who recognized me from the last event that I did, which was Hidden Colors 4. They came up to me and said, "Hey man, you did a great job with Hidden Colors 4." And I said, "Appreciate that. When's the next event?" I said, "Stay tuned." You know, stuff like that. So I really appreciate that for coming up to me and saying, "Hey, you did a great job with what you're doing. Keep it up." You know, black people collectively as a group, we are the most religious people on the planet. So since we are so damaged by slavery, you know, post-traumatic slavery syndrome, cognitive dissonance, Stockholm syndrome, etc., we like escapism. The church, religion, is our solace, is our pacification for racism, white supremacy. And so black people, we just love to feel good. We love to feel good. Just for a moment. You know, it could be for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, like being in church. And so being there around so-called conscious people, enlightened people, it kind of felt like you were at church, right? Where you get somebody to come up there and speak like a pastor. I'm not saying David Banner is a pastor or preacher, all right? But you get somebody out there who is out there in the mic, and you got people listening. They're getting kind of rowdy, like, yeah, man, we're gonna do this X, Y, Z. But what is your plan for action? Somebody needs to enforce a plan of action, tangible things that this city needs to do. Miami needs to do X, Y, Z right now. Philly needs to do X, Y, Z right now. Atlanta needs to do X, Y, Z right now. New York needs to do X, Y, Z right now. Collectively as a group for black people, right? And I've always talked about this before. So-called black communities, our black dollar circulates only 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours. So my whole thing is, in order for you to not depend on the dominant white society's resources, take your damn money out of these white-owned institutions that benefit from slavery and put it in a bank black institute. A black-owned credit union, a black-owned bank. Right? Y'all see my video. For those of you who haven't, check it out. I'll have it up on the screen somewhere. I did the One United Bank Challenge. I opened up my account with One United Bank, a checking account, last month in July. And that was probably one of the most best things I've ever done in my life, is supporting a black-owned business bank. And you know, there's only one black-owned bank in the state of Florida. In order for you to see more branches, guess what? You have to support that bank. And shout out to the brothers. There was some vendors out there at the event who was selling some shirts saying, I don't support, it's not a verbatim, but it says something about, I don't support the church, I support banks, or something to that extent. I bought that shirt. It was pretty cool. I really liked the shirt. But yeah, man, it starts with that, okay? It starts with banking black. That's the first thing you have to do. Second thing is, you have to focus on local municipal elections. August 30th is Tuesday, all right? You need to vote wherever you live in South Florida, because the people who I was hearing speak are asking questions. You know, they were coming from Palm Beach, Pompano, Miramar. You know, so you have black people living in predominantly white areas. If you want to see change, you have to work in your local neighborhood, your local city, your local county. So your local municipal elections is where it starts, where you can have tangible changes once you start voting people in and holding them accountable. All right, and that means you showing up for city council meetings, right? You showing up for public hearings regarding the city, etc., etc. Be more hands-on in local municipal elections, all right? Those are the two things I would say is very key, no matter where you live as a black man or woman in America. Two things you have to do: bank black, all right, and be more involved in local municipal elections. I did not hear that in the lecture, and nobody in the audience spoke that either. But again, I was not there to do my own lecture or nothing like that. I was just trying to soak everything in and just listen, you know, because listening is the key to learning. So I do more listening than talking. But this is just my opinion about the whole overall event. So, you know, like I said, it was a cool event. And for people who are just new or novices into this information, this is something probably groundbreaking for you. But it was just okay. All right, cool for me. It was like, all right, that's cool, you know. And again, he comes from an MC background, so he has that charisma to move the crowd and to, you know, interact with the audience. You know, that's his whole thing. And you know, I commend him for that. You know, because how many so-called conscious rappers you see doing lectures, you know, to promote his album? I don't see any other conscious rappers doing that, you know, going into city to city to talk about black issues. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely commend him for that. So anyway, family, that's what I wanted to talk about. Just my 2 cents as far as the God Box lecture series review. For those of you who were there, let me know what you guys think about the lecture down below. All right. Once again, if you're new, please subscribe. I'm going to sign out because it's real late. Chauncey, a.k.a. Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, signing out. Peace.